What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Lore Chronicles. I am your host, Willoughby's. With me, as always, is Mr. Burns. And today, we are looking ahead to the future. A future post-rotation, okay? Because Attack of the Vine is right around the corner, Mr. Burns. As we pointed out in one of our latest videos, set champs came up quicker than anybody thought. We're going 2 months in between a new set instead of 3 as usual. And with set 13, with Attack of the Vine, cards are going to be rotating out. So the only cards allowed in core constructed format to be played are going to be sets 9 through 13. So that's going to be Fabled and onward. For anybody who doesn't know what set rotation is, it's a normal thing in card games, and it's gonna be okay. But we're here to help you be prepared, looking ahead at what comes this post rotation, and show you what we believe are gonna be all the cards that are gonna be the new meta staples. So we're gonna break it all down, we're gonna talk all about it. But before we get into it, Mr. Burns, is there anything that you want to say on the topic of a very quickly approaching set rotation?
All right. Well, first of all, there's a Visions of the Future pun somewhere in there. Maybe that's the title of the video, right? I am excited. We're gonna have a list of cards that people are probably going to miss. For one, it's a list of cards that I'm excited are going to be leaving the format because we've been dealing with some of these for a year now.
Yeah.
And as we can see from Infinity, people are not really enjoying the Infinity content and Infinity metagame that much. That's what we would have lived in if we did not have rotation in the first place. So I think a lot more people now are really actually appreciative that we're rotating. And we're doing it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you make a great point. I think as we've seen the reception to Infinity, I think now more people appreciate rotation, which at first was usually a very scary topic. But here we are. Let's take a look, starting out, at what we are saying goodbye to. All of the cards that are currently very prevalent in this metagame, or have been prevalent at one point or another, that are no longer gonna be around. I mean, looking at this first row here, we're saying goodbye to a lot of core staples in dogs.
Yeah, which, by the way, we always hear this when there is a rotation. And by always, I mean the 100% of the time that's happened so far, which was once, of people going, yeah, but now the metagame's going to be completely different and I can't play the same deck. And that's the point, right? That's literally the point of rotation. So if that's something that you're not into, then, stick to Infinity.
Yeah. So looking ahead, we're looking at all of these cards that we're saying goodbye to. As I pointed out, this first row, dogs we're saying goodbye. Things like Tipo, right? That turn 2 ramp staple. We don't have a replacement for it yet.
Happy about
that. Things like this Bold Knight, this dog kind of became a staple in a lot of steel decks. Of course, these Amethyst builds with Genie, Elsa, Iago. I mean, Elsa the Fifth Spirit, that coming out of decks is really gonna make things topsy-turvy, I personally think.
Yeah, and do you remember when that card was spoiled and everyone said it was terrible because it was just worse than Maui?
Crazy. It's a staple now. Speaking of Maui, of course, the Half Shark. There again, the dogs. We got Tramp. Clarabelle has been really popular in Emerald lists, even in core. So, and then looking at some of the actions, we have things like Sail the Azurite Sea, as we mentioned, that turn 2 ramp. Things like digging in your Sapphire decks for the card you need with Vision. Ink Geyser was a little fun inclusion for a while. Into the Unknown was nice. I liked that card a lot. And then we have Emerald Chromicon and the Library. So these are just some of the things that we wanted to point out, just to remind everybody as we go ahead and look at all the rest of this decks, what we used to have. We might make references to some of the cards that are on the future tabs of, like, this is replacing this. So we just wanted to show everybody kind of what the basis of the core of the metagame was, some of the biggest cards. And of course, this is not exhaustive, but that is our
not just the past 3 months, by the way, the whole rotation cycle, right? Because some of these cards did fall off a little bit, which is funny because previously it was cards that was like, if you're not playing 4 of this, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, and I showed that name up at the top there. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye. Good one, Mr. Burns. I loved it. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to first what we're going to be gaining post rotation. Some of the things we're going to be leaning on here, starting with set 9, Fabled. Mr. Burns, take it away as you curated this list here for us. Why is it that you've chosen these cards, and what do you think they're on this list for?
Right. So I actually named all of these high impact, right? Because at first I was like, oh, let me just figure out like the most playable cards, right? And the lists were insanely long, especially Fabled. Funny enough, people weren't a big fan of Fabled when it first came out. Of course, now everyone's hunting for those iconic Mickeys, and boxes are like $1,000 each.
I
But a
have
lot of
one.
people were like pretty upset about Fabled. But a lot of the cards are like sneakily very good post rotation. So instead of going over 100 cards every set or whatnot, I'm doing the most high impact cards. That means when you think about building a deck, these are probably the reasons you're thinking about playing a certain ink color. Okay, like these are the cards that you either build around or you go, oh, I want to play, let's say, a Dumbo deck because Dumbo is such a good card. So I'm going to play Amethyst. What are the automatic, like, yes, I'm going to put this in my deck, and this is a good reason to play it. So again, it's not that cards on this list are not played. It's literally like, looking at Ursula, Deceiver, right? If there is a big song deck in the format, people will automatically just say, well, I need to play Emerald to counter that because of Ursula Deceiver, right? So yeah, we've got we don't need to go over every single card. I think this is, especially because it's our first time talking about post rotation, really like getting our toes in,
Yeah.
right? The next video in this series is going to be looking at actual decks that we have built. This one is really just like get the mojo flowing, if you will.
Yeah, what I would say, me personally, and if you want to pick a couple as well, looking at least the characters, we can talk about what just quickly what we think is going to be relevant for what reason. So obviously Dumbo is going to be huge for card draw. Nala, I think, is going to be a staple in aggro. Depending on what kinds of songs we get, I do think Max Goof is going to be very relevant. Ursula, this voice stealer, I think exert effects, her, and we'll talk about another one soon, Isis Vanderchill, are going to be really big in decks because we
Yeah,
don't have
we're losing Elsa.
yeah, because we don't have exert effects. Something I'm trying to think of the most biggest ones.
Prince
Obviously,
Philip. Prince
yeah,
Philip, malicious, mean, and scary is still just like one of the most broken things you could possibly do in the game, right? Like
100%.
one-sided board wipes are actually insane. And then in the songs list, we actually have another one-sided board wipe in Under the Sea.
Yeah, going down to the songs, I absolutely agree. I do think, obviously, Strength and Under the Sea, as we've continued to see, but I do think we're going to see Second Star to the Right and World's Greatest continue to make comebacks because of the new rate, right? World's Greatest, a lot of 5-cost character, or 5 statted characters, excuse me.
Exactly. And I think Circle of Life might actually be the best way to cheat that Prince Philip into play now.
Okay.
So I think if you don't own Circle of Lives, you might want to get them before week 1. All right. Not financial advice. Hashtag not financial advice. And then Strength of a Raging Fire is just like the best removal spell in the game, maybe.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
fact that that's sticking around is like a sole reason to play Steel.
Yeah. So I think that's it for Fabled. We just want to, like I said, pick out a couple cards here and there. And like, you can study this list, take a look at it, and start thinking about, as we go into spoiler season for Attack of the Vine, what are the key pieces that are going to fit in with the rest of these. So let's move on to Whispers in the Well. Again, picking out some things from Whispers.
A lot less cards. A lot less
Absolutely.
cards.
Yeah. Only 8 characters this time, but these are cards. What's funny about this is these are cards we've already seen kind of shaping the metagame, so it makes sense that they're going to stay. Mowgli, again, like it's either Ursula or Mowgli, sometimes it's both, so that is just meta dependent which one's going to be most relevant. A Cheshire Cat has been an absolute powerhouse, as we know. Same with Ariel most recently in some of these builds. New Ramp is not going to be on turn 2, it's going to be on turn 4, right, with Cinderella, depending on what we see. And of course, Demona.
Cinderella and Moana is just so good still.
Yeah, Goliath, Demona, like Goliath, the counter to Amethyst decks, Demona, the enabler of Amethyst decks. Horseman Strike's absolutely critical depending on some of the evasives. You mentioned that Malicious Mean and Scary, and then of course more draw in Guidebook, and He Hurled His Thunderbolt. Anything you want to say about these? I'm seeing so many. They're short, but so many meta staples already.
Yeah, again, this is just like, okay, I want to build a certain kind of deck. These are your real building blocks, right? Obviously, we still need the seasoning. You know, we need like 1 cost, 2 cost, stuff like
For
that going
sure.
up the curve. But like, again, if you want to build a control deck, I feel like you're going down 2 paths. You're
Yep.
either going down the Demona path or the Malicious, Mean, and Scary Prince Philip path,
Yeah.
right? So these are really just getting you to understand the building blocks of the next format.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on, we have Winterspell for the next of our building blocks. And again, I'm seeing so many cards that have already started to shape the meta. Things like Grandmother Willow are now going to be, auto includes 100%. We've seen the power of this Scrooge McDuck. Nani was an all-star card, many people said, for being able to just find you some of your other powerful cards. So it depends on, what's still available, what's going to be printed. But if she can find you your most powerful cards like she used to, still gonna be
You can
relevant.
also find a lot of toys.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
there is that one promo that was already showed, which was a Woody. So we can reasonably expect more toys in the next sets. And we know that one of the themes of toys is characters that cost 2 or less.
Absolutely. Yeah, huge shout there. Toys are going to be absolutely dominant moving forward, I believe. One, because people just love them, and I think people are having a lot of fun doing these kind of like archetype type decks. But looking ahead as well, Isis Vanderchill, like we said, exert effects are going to be critical. Sven kind of being able to leverage some of those exert effects. Loved Angel. So she fell off a little bit recently, but love her so much. Think she's so great. Card draw for Amber being in the form of this Stitch. We've seen the power of this Moana. And that Snowman of Action, that Olaf there, has really made a comeback in some of the action-based decks. But moving on to some of the actions, talk to us about these actions, Mr. Burns.
I am not the biggest fan of Ohana Means Family, but here's my problem with it. The floor is literally the basement. It's you have no damage anywhere to remove, and it does nothing, and you have to ink it, right? But the ceiling is absolutely massive. We've said it multiple times. There are these new balance, strength, and willpowers, right? So it is, I think, going to be a lot easier to get this Ohana Means Family to actually trigger when you're not playing against decks like dogs, right? Like, I'm not expecting there to be a lot of decks that play 1 cost 0/4s, except maybe the deck that wants the Ohana Means Family, right? And then Raging Storm, I we have been talking about it a lot in our Discord. Not the fact that we spoiled this card, which yes, we did,
We
along
did.
with Sven and along with Sven and Grandmother Willow. But
All-star lineup from us.
yeah. But I think because we're not seeing yet any really good 2 cost ramp, I think that the de facto best Amethyst control deck is not going to be Blurple. I think it is actually going to be Amber Amethyst
Yeah.
because you have that reset button in Raging Storm, and all the other decks don't have that reset button. So
Yeah, absolutely. I
yeah,
totally agree.
and Akud, hot take. I hate this card.
It's so
Uh,
good.
I absolutely hate this card. I draw 4 of this card in every opening hand. I swear they are stuck together worse than docks. It's so frustrating.
It's so good.
But when it does what it's supposed to do, it's like borderline unbeatable in a lot of games, right? Let it go, inkable removal that hits literally anything. Like it putting an ink in your opponent's inkwell is generally not that big a deal. So obviously any Sapphire deck's gonna want to see Let It Go. And we've seen recently, even in Infinity, Snowfort is an absolute menace, and
Yeah.
it may be the de facto 3 cost uninkable item that replaces Chromacon, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you are so right with Snow 4. It has been a game changer for sure. And, Winterspell really, like, even though the list is short, these cards are such high impact. So definitely get familiar with this list. This is something that you are going to want to use, as we're saying, as your building blocks moving forward post rotation. Let's talk about, though, Wilds Unknown, which also brought us, we got to do the pun, a lot of new toys that are going to be interesting to see how they shape the core constructed metagame. Taking a look at even this one drop, something like Will-O-the-Wisp has been like critical.
I think people will be shocked I put this on the list.
Really?
But
this card is
I
so
do
good.
it is so good, and I think it is actually like a good reason to play Amethyst.
Yeah.
Not that you needed another good reason to play Amethyst, right? But I think that this is it, like I was using this literally last night at 2 a.m. in the Discord as examples of way to, like, get your opponent to jump first, right? Because you're not losing anything when you quest with this. It works so well with Dale, which is obviously also on the list. Again, the list is getting shorter as the sets come through, but I think that that's because there's not as many high impact cards in this set that make you want to build around. There's a lot more position players in this set. I think this set, aside from Fabled, probably has close to, if not the most playable actual cards, but a lot of them are not cards that you go, oh, I need to play this ink color to play this. You go, oh, I'm playing this ink color, so I have to play this, right?
And position players, for anybody who's just a little confused, is just...
they're like your base hit cards. They're
Okay.
like, you're not going to win the game with it outright like you would with some of these. Like Eleanor, for instance, we've seen has literally just dominated recently, and sometimes you just play two of those and your opponent needs to just concede. They're cards that get you to the point that you need to be to actually win the game, right? Baseball games are not won on home runs usually, they're won on base hits.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at these cards, yeah, you mentioned Eleanor as well. Obviously things like Dale and Woody have already been, impactful, but I really do think some cards that people aren't paying as much attention to, like this Buzz Lightyear, like you said, like the stonks on this card, gonna go up.
I think this Buzz is actually insane. I think it should be in a lot more decks than it's in. I don't have any like great examples right now, especially because we're focused on Infinity, and especially because post rotation is coming up. But like, it's pretty sneaky how often in a turn you can draw a card and discard a card, right? Like, this is definitely going into that Circle of Life type deck we were talking about. We showed Stitch on the Fabled one. I think that there will definitely be a Stitch deck after rotation. Buzz goes right in that. Every single card you play that you exert with the Stitch to draw a card, you also get to draw a card and discard. And you can stack them in such a way that, and you also get to deal a damage to something. And then you're going to be able to draw a card and discard to get closer to the Stitch. So
Yeah.
I think this card is sneakily one of the best cards in the set. I actually think Hercules is the best card in the set.
Wow. Very cool.
Which is another, like, maybe hot take. I think it's better than Doc. I'd rather pick the card than get two random cards most of the time. And there are ways to bounce this Hercules, right? We have cards like Olaf, so we have ways to, late game, play Hercules, return something that's going to return the Hercules to our hand, reuse it, just keep going. Anyway, and then, someone will lose his head, right? So this one is kind of out of nowhere to most people, but obviously it works with Under the Sea to completely wipe your opponent's entire board, as long as even warded characters, as long as they only have 4 strength, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I want to point out again, just to hammer it home, is this list is not exhaustive in terms of what's going to be part of the meta. We had to narrow it down to just high impact because, like you said, Wilds Unknown brought so many new archetypes that are actually viable, that are 100% going to see play. And even as you were explaining, Buzz, my brain was already going, yeah, this card is going to be so good. Why isn't it on here? And I'm remembering this is just the most high impact, but there's obviously so so many cards that you have to put in, you know, to make the whole. But these are just like your staples that you kind of want to think about building around potentially. So we've talked about kind of some of the sets that are going to be available, well, all of the sets that are going to be available, obviously, besides set 13, which we will see very soon. But you did specifically make a section for the Amethyst package, and I think that this is relevant to dedicate some time to, because well, actually, why don't you tell us why you've dedicated a section specifically to Amethyst?
So Amethyst is just so good.
Yeah.
It is by far and away the best ink color, right? And it's because it has so many ways to draw cards. That's basically the only reason it's so good. It just has so many good, effective ways to draw cards that you don't have to jump through hoops or anything like that. So I believe most people are going to start their very first deck will probably be an Amethyst deck if they are building from scratch. Obviously, if you're just trying to take out the cards from your old core constructed deck that rotated and put in new ones, then they're not going to be doing this. But I think most people who have access to all the cards are going to go, okay, all these cards rotated. I just want to draw more cards and win more games. So these cards are not necessarily going to be like you play 4 of each of these and then you sprinkle in, I don't know, how many other cards is that? If we played 4 of each of these cards, that's 48, right? If you just play 4 of every one of these cards and added 12 cards that were also just reasonable cards from any other ink color, I think you would win most of your games week 1, which is insane. Like, that these cards are just so good, they could probably carry most players to victory.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it made complete sense to me. Obviously, we don't talk about these ahead of time, but it made complete sense to me when I saw the Amethyst package as a concept. I was like, yeah, like Amethyst does need its own dedicated section, because it is just, I mean, and for better or for worse, some people have had their complaints about it, but like it is just kind of a core of every single format, and it always will be. Because
as far as we could see,
yeah. So, and drawing cards is just so powerful, but it does other things as well with some of these exert effects and etc. So yeah, gotta love Amethyst. So if you are thinking about building an Amethyst deck, which you absolutely should be, in my opinion, I think, like you said, Amber and Amethyst is going to be king going forward. Take a look at this list here. But all right, so the last thing that is most important to talk about, in my opinion, is removal. Mr. Birds has brought us a list of removal, but he also brought us a list of removal that I think a good way to put it for me personally is like traps in deck building. I think it's a way that a lot of people think about it. But I do think that, like, and before we look at it, I think removal in general is so critical to Disney Lorcana, and it's what we're trying to do, because if they don't have anything, right, they can't win the game. Some decks aren't trying to do that, but like in theory, I think that that's something you either have to be aware of or you have to be trying to do, right? Because does that make sense? Like, that's how I think of removal as a player. I think of it as like a pillar of the game.
What's good about removal is that you can deal with ready characters.
Yes.
Right. You never want to be in a position where if your opponent just quests with everything and then plays a couple of ready characters, you just lose the game, right? Because, and I've said it in a few other videos, you know, people complain that the removal in this game compared to almost every other game they play is awful. And it is. It just is, right? But all of your characters are also removal spells if your opponent's characters are exerted. And that's why you can't have like 1 cost, deal 3 damage to a character. This like removal cannot reasonably trade up that well, because if you are winning the game plus you have a removal spell, you almost certainly will just close out your opponent from doing anything, and that could be as early as turn 3 or 4, right? So the removal in the game is a really, really insane tightrope that the developers have to balance.
Yeah, and so what we're going to talk about before we talk about some of the best removal options are what, like, I think are traps, potential pitfalls, things to be aware of people may think, hey, this is a form of removal is really good, but might actually be lower impact than you might think or initially
Yeah,
think.
and
So
some of these cards might see play,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah,
Um, I was making a list of, in my opinion, all of the best removal spells, right? But best is a loaded term, and that is my opinion, right? So I figured to get out ahead of the people that are like, yeah, but what about Sisu Daring Visitor? You know, what about Goofy Klutzy Skier? He can banish anything. These are just not the things that I would start off the first week in my removal slots. Maybe maybe Dale decks are just the best deck in the entire format, and you want to play Sisu Daring Visitor. It's not an unreasonable card if you have Dumbo in your deck, right? But week one, I'm not putting this in my deck.
yeah. So we can take a look at some of them just to show you, like, hey, these are here. They are options. Like even things like Leviathan and Maleficent are cards that like see play reasonably. Even something like Leviathan, obviously we saw it, have a rise in Infinity, but in core, there is also an Emerald Ruby deck that isn't like, it's pretty fun. I've been playing it. I've been testing it out, and I might take it to a set championship. But like, so the Leviathan on its surface looks crazy, but it has seen play. So again, it's not that all of these cards are automatic like they're terrible, but they're more like they're traps in thinking. So just think about them a little bit more before you auto include them into your deck. And another one to point out here, like 3 arrows. Some people
I wanted to point that
are
out.
gonna
Yeah.
make such good use of this card. Yeah, what did you want to say about it?
I just wanted to say I feel like that is a card like specifically that we might catch flack for, but we keep hammering home that like there are 2-cost 3/3s now, right? And like Smash has never really been that played, right? So like there are definitely formats and there are definitely decks that I could see 3 arrows being good against. But if those are not the decks that are rising to the top post rotation, then 3 arrows just has no real purpose in the metagame. So again, I just wouldn't start with it, even though realistically, if I had to bet, I don't think it's a playable card.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah. Mob Song though, gonna go crazy. No, but yeah, so I just wanted to show some of these things. Even like items are an option as well. And yeah, so just be careful with some of these cards, but technically they are removal options. And here we are. These are going to be the actual best removal options in the game. Mr. Burns, talk to us about these removal options before we get everybody on out of here to get deck building for the next set rotation.
We've already talked about a lot of these, so I'm going to skip over everything we've talked about already, basically. But, Luisa Madrigal, we have a 1-cost one already, so, like, this one seems like a really easy one to just include in your deck. Chernobog, I think this one, if you are playing a deck that does not have a lot of removal, the odds that your opponent actually has something in their discard pile is very low, which would make this an incredible removal spell.
That's a
I
great
think
point.
people would be shocked that one's on the list. Tinkerbell, tried and true. Wreck-It Ralph, aside from Raging Storm, is the only other, big board wipe in the game if you can boost it or sacrifice it the turn that you play it. A lot of these we've already seen. Fire the Cannons, tried and true. Spooky Sight. Without these dogs that, like, when you Spooky Sight a dog's deck, they probably still won, right? So it is possible that Spooky Sight is good again, as long as your opponent is not playing like a Demona deck where they're just gonna use all that ink all in one turn anyway.
Hold on. Can't let you skip over Firefly Swarm. This card, I think, is so very slept on, especially looking at some of the discard manipulation. Discard manipulation that is in like Emerald specifically. But Firefly Swarm, sure, you can banish 2 or less, 2 strength or less, or you can get some cards into your discard pile, and it's a 3-cost Dragonfire, right? So don't sleep.
Yeah. Obviously, a lot better in Infinity because you can just banish 2 of your own popsicles. That's why it's played in the Infinity deck. So I put it in here because I'm assuming that there is some way that we can easily get 2 cards in the discard pile.
Oh, he doesn't.
So,
He doesn't know, chat. He doesn't know about the core Emerald deck where you have like Lyle Tiberius Rourke, the new one from Wilds Unknown. He doesn't know about Gate and
I know.
Moliere. Okay.
I know about this bad deck. I've helped people on our Discord with it.
All right, sorry. Let's keep pushing.
It's all good. And then down here in the songs, I think the only one that might shock people is Growing Pressure, right? Because it doesn't say banish anything, it doesn't say deal damage, but they can't challenge and must quest, and you draw a card, right? If you use this on a Grandmother Willow, your opponent is gonna hate you. They are gonna absolutely hate you, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you use this on a card that your opponent was not expecting to ever quest with, it is effectively a removal spell because you should have a character that you're willing to throw into their character,
You know
right?
what?
And you draw a card.
I'm with you on this, and anything that says draw a card is good to me. Last question, okay? Seeing grab your bow, which of course is going to be meta dependent because of the strength thing, but like you said, if you can minus their strength, someone will lose his head. What do you think about a card that people often forget about? Its counterpart, marching off to battle, where if a character was banished, you draw 2 cards. I know that that's not removal, so that's why it's not on this list, but I didn't see it earlier, I believe, for the set that it was released in. Just quick thoughts on it. I'm just curious.
I don't think it's super high impact card. I think it is a card that you would play in like a Wreck-It Ralph deck because you are putting cards in your deck that like Lonely Grave,
Sure.
where you can definitely trigger the effect of that. I think the problem is that it's too many hoops to jump through. It's like Baby Head. I don't care what anyone says. The card is not good. Like
Wow, hot takes.
Queen of Hearts wasn't good. Baby Head's not good. Unless you're utilizing the pumping your own characters, then it is good. If you're expecting to play a Baby Head and trade off 3 characters and draw 3 cards, like your opponent just didn't understand what was happening, and that worked out for you. That's one of those, oh, but it won me a game.
Yeah.
So I have to keep it in my deck, right? Another thing about growing pressure, I should say, sorry, is bodyguards. Deck that I'm working on has the 1-cost Stitch, the 2/1 that you can exert it to give a character Reckless, and Chief Powhatan.
Yeah.
So play the Chief 5/5 on turn 4, bodyguarded, maybe on turn 3 with Willow. Use Stitch to give a character Reckless. Same exact thing. You can use your 3-drop to sing this growing pressure. You can play Chief Powhatan. They have to run their character into it. Almost certainly their character is just going to be banished. So,
all right. So that is looking ahead in a post-rotation world. Obviously, this has been not an exhaustive list, and we don't know what's going to come in set 13, but we did our best to kind of help you guys get the gears turning on what to expect moving forward. Anything else you want to say before we let the people go, Mr. Burns?
I just want to say, if you are thinking about these things now, if you're thinking about these things a month before other people are thinking about them, you are much more likely to find things that other people are going to take longer for themselves to discover, right? And you can really get a good jump week 1. Even if all of these cards don't end up being as good as you think they will be, you might be the only person at your locals that knows that, because you have actually put in the work now. So, plant the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago, and the second best time is right now.
Boom, there you go. Welcome back to Lore Chronicles University, everybody. Class is in session. Start studying, okay? But yeah, that's gonna be it from us. Let us know what you think your best cards are gonna be moving forward for post-rotation. Let us know what decks you're thinking about. We want to hear it. And before we let you go, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment if you like the video. It helps us out way more than you know. And of course, join the Discord. Mr. Burns is in there writing novels, okay, helping people with all kinds of things. So we want to have you guys in there. Thank you to our channel members. You guys make it possible, and we will see you all in DLC Indianapolis very soon. Peace.